and then immediately following that will be a determination as to what we'll know. I'm sure that obviously our Bob will have another report to give us as to what our options are. That will probably make its rounds ahead of time, so we kind of have some heads up. Obviously, we won't be able to discuss it, but we individually can receive that and think about what we would like to do. And then on Thursday, we will be, I mean, I'm assuming, again, I won't, we don't know who the chair will be, so I can't say for 100% certainty that we're going to take a vote on Thursday, but I would say with 99% accuracy that we're going to be doing we will be taking a vote just to decide what, right, by Thursday. So, yes.
Well, since this is like a new development with the whole like possible not state taking over, is it safe to say that the state really doesn't want to take over Templeton?
Well, that is what the
They don't want to.
They don't want to.
No.
So
that's
why they're pushing for this to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's something too that, again, when you why it's so hard to make a solid determination, because we were told, and I'm not throwing anyone from DOR under the bus because they're obviously working with facts on the ground that are changing as quickly as as ours are. That we were told this is what's going to happen if we're going to file this. We're going to get the money, and it's going to be state if that override fails. And then once the override fails, this morning it's, well, you might be able to avoid it because, like as you said, the state doesn't really want to intervene in our affairs and have to spend the money that they would have to spend to pay someone to babysit us. So that's why now suddenly they're saying, well, if you shut off all your street lights for the next 6 weeks and you shut your library and your COA and get rid of a shift to the police office, no more third shift and do this and that, you may be able to avoid state intervention. So that is correct that they do not want
So
to.
basically your options are moment to moment.
Right, exactly. So that's why we
say.
can't, it's very difficult to make long-term plans. And I can almost guarantee that something will change between now and Thursday, and we will have some new piece of information that will be presented on Thursday, and the facts will change on the ground again.
I mean, I think everyone is familiar that we've always assumed that if the override did not pass, that we were going to go the state legislation and loan route. That was the path. And that was the plan, actually. In the phone call today with Jerry Perry, he said he encouraged us to do this other route where we take care of the problem ourselves, and had some strong arguments for it, which we've just been through tonight. So I mean, that's how this kind of played out. And as far as I know, we may have another problem by Thursday, and that is if we want to roll the note over for $2.65 million, you got to sell those notes. And Matt was just telling me this afternoon. Tell me what you told me this afternoon about the prospect of rolling that note over.
If you shut your town, government investors aren't looking at you so favorably, and we may not get a borrower. I have actually gone to a bank and begged from them to bid on the note.
So I mean, this cascade, this is a Niagara of bad news just coming in every day. And sometimes it does cause us to think about shifting course here, and trying to approach this differently.
Yeah, the gravity of the situation cannot be overstated, I don't think. That the horrible financial situation that we are in and that we've been in for months and months, it really can't be overstated. It's bad.
Right, Chief Whitaker.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'll get together with Luann and Bob, and I'll put out a public service announcement to do the override failing through Code Red requesting estimate of tax.
Good job. Good idea.
Yeah, her.
Right, you know, that's a good
I
idea.
mean, that'll go out, I can have that out tomorrow night.
It's like our health bills, they don't know what the estimated tax bill is.
Just a comment on the state, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
It was my
The
fault.
state doesn't really want to take us over because it involves work on their part.
Right.
Plus, they don't have to live it. We have to live it.
Right.
So they're not a knight in shining armor that's going
Right.
to save us from ourselves.
Right.
We have to save ourselves from ourselves
Right.
going forward. If there's one thing I hope for those of us that won't be here going forward, is that you actually learn from this and get some leadership and some planning going forward, so this doesn't ever happen again, because it's going to be a 5-year crawl back to some semblance of town services. So those that voted to push off the cliff, it's not a one-time fall off the cliff. it's a fall off the cliff, a splatter on the ground, and then 5 years of trying to find the pieces and move forward. But you have, I hope, an opportunity, those that do whatever, a 7-step program, you gotta hit bottom before you climb up. I hope this is the bottom. Because
You know-
the families that are feeling this, you don't need to do this again to anybody else. So the state does not want this, so they're throwing that out, Mr. Jerry Perry, because they don't wanna have to deal with it, quite frankly. So here, cut
You're right,
the budget now.
you're right, it's an absolute headache for the State Department of Revenue, and they know what the experience in the past was for them. They intervene, they take over, and they have to do some very unpopular things, and they have to take a raft of criticism, not only from municipal employees, but from town residents or city residents who don't like the cutbacks. And before long, residents go to their state representative and their state senator, and the next thing you know, the senators and reps are taking shots at the DOR, and so it becomes a political morass for them, and they are not anxious to get involved.
Sorry.
I think though that it's unpopular, but I think what Jackie said is true, that the people who voted no for the override felt that they wanted the state to come in. And that the reason that they wanted the state to come in is because we have lost credibility. And that they're looking for that to come back. I know it will cost $80,000 to do that, but that's what the people, everybody that I've spoken to, has said. We want the state to come in because we do not want you to, we're not gonna give you another $500,000 for you to spend unwisely or not know where your books are at, or, you know, I mean, I hate to say that, but, you know, again, it's true every other day, like some new information comes, and had we known that maybe they didn't really want to come, I mean, I think we tried to put the information out there. This is what will happen when the state comes. I know that you all take phone calls and you all talk to people. My phone, my Facebook, everything blew up today. I don't know what to say to people either, you know, I'm sorry. The will of the people have spoken, and they believe that the state is coming to fix it. It may not fix it, but it's a 5-year fix, and maybe the cuts won't have to be as deep. You know, I don't even really know what else to say about that, but that's my feeling on that matter, is that if we just say, well, if we can avoid that, but we lay off half this room, that's really, I don't think that's what the people were looking for at all. Not at all.
Right. And my personal response to that is I think people who voted no because they thought that the state was coming in were ill-informed to begin with, because we made it very clear that nobody was coming from Boston here to help us. It was going to increase the workload for our employees, because think about everyone, a department head losing your assistant, and now you need to generate an extra report every week to send to Boston and Springfield, because that's what's going to happen if the state comes in, and that's going to be that way for 5 years. The state doesn't give us any money long-term. They can't raise the taxes. I've heard that from people too. People also think, well, if the state comes in, then they can raise the taxes to where they need be. No, the state is also governed by Prop 2.5. So there is no more money coming from anywhere. So the severity of the cuts will be as deep. They'll be $80,000 deeper than they would be otherwise. And I'm not necessarily advocating for one or the other. I just don't. I just want to make sure that the information is out there, that people say, oh, thank God the state came in, and then suddenly their kids are walking home from school in December and there's no street lights, and it's like, well, the state said we had to shut down our street lights, which is what they told us this morning. Shut off your street lights. People are saying, well, I don't know, why are my street lights off? Well, we thought you wanted the state to come in. On that ballot, it doesn't say, do you want the state to come in? It says, do you want your taxes to go up or you don't? They said no, so then this is the every cause has an effect. That's the effect of not having your taxes go up.
I think, you know, in many ways that a lot of townspeople clearly also dropped the ball, because I have come to a lot of these meetings and I have not seen a lot of these people with these questions at them, because we have this room size. This is probably the fullest now that it's been in a little while, but this is still not even a huge portion of the town. So even if they're watching it on TV, they're still not voicing their questions to be heard, to be answered. So that's why there's a lot of misled information.
We had a big meeting, and we had it in the cafeteria at the school. We had a board that sat up front like you people, not you people, because you weren't there. And what'd they do? The people tried to speak, they kicked them all out, kicked us all out. 7 cops there.
Yeah.
7 cops. One guy gets up and says, the agitator, kick them all out. Woman 90 years old, never opened a word. Kick them people all out. That's a smart man. He wants to be on the advisory board next to write it down. Kicked him right off quick. Think of it. Don't remember what
Yeah,
to say.
remember the
Kick half the
past.
people out. You say nobody there at the meeting? It was chock full. Chock full. Mrs. Andrews, his representative was there. She got kicked out also, when she was with us. She got kicked out of the meeting. She said she never saw such disgraceful thing as it was.
We will not, I don't foresee that happening on Thursday, so that's, people will have an opportunity to speak.
I know when I was on the Board of Selectmen, when we looked at cutting streetlights, which we did cut probably half of them in town then, which they haven't come back on. It didn't affect, I don't remember exactly how it worked, but it didn't affect the budget now, it affected next year's budget, so you keep mentioning that, but I don't know if you shut them all off right now, if it's gonna save anything.
Right, well, and that's another thing
So
that.
you might wanna check with the,
Well, the DOR is the people that told us to, because what they're looking at now is obviously none of these cuts that we would even make would actually have, so at town meeting, we do not have the power to change the budget. But when an appropriation is made, the legislative body, which is the town assembled, the town meeting, sets the most that we can spend, not the minimum. So we cannot change the budget to say, well, we're gonna close down the library and close down the council on aging, we can't make that budgetary change. What we can do is choose not to spend the money until it would have to be addressed at special town meeting. So any changes that were made here would then also have to be ratified at the special town meeting held within the annual town meeting next Saturday. Which also throws a cog in the wheel. However, again, a lot of this is on the will of the DOR and how much slack they're basically willing to give us. So if on Thursday, the only way that they will basically even let us move forward with that option, I'm not advocating for it, I'm just putting the facts out there, of not having state intervention, is if we show like this week that we are serious about cutting that funding. And the only way that they will take that we're serious before we get to special town meeting would be those furloughs and layoffs. So that's why, and we understand that, so the decisions we make too, there's more in uncertainty in the air, because everything that we do on Thursday will also then be affected by what happens next Saturday at annual town meeting. So, that's another reason that we don't know for sure what's going to happen and can't plan for it. We can plan better, but we can't plan to cover all of the bases. Yep.
You know, I've been a resident of this town for a long time, and the majority of the people that come and go every day, spend the night here, get in the car and leave tomorrow, they don't have a relationship with the people that work for the town. And that's sad, because that doesn't, when they vote no, they're not realizing how many people it's gonna affect and how bad. I have a friend in Spencer. They're gonna have an override. She's gonna vote no. She don't wanna take any more money out of her pocket. But there comes a time where you have to, if they need an override, you have to give it to the town, because they need it to keep moving, go ahead. And that's the sad part, is this lack of connection and a lack of what these things mean. All these years, the town has been so spoiled because people Mickey Moused the budget, played the shell game until it crashed. It was gonna crash sooner or later. And you guys are all the victims of bad planning for a long time, and I feel really bad. People do think the state is gonna come in and fix it. I don't know what the hell fix it means, and you know what, I don't think they do either. That's a sad part.
You say about the lights, we have no control to say over the light company. Well, what the hell why can the state say, don't shut your lights off in the town? We have no control of it.
Right, because again, what they're looking for, they're not looking for the free cash to be in our account tomorrow. What they're looking for is to basically step back is reassurances that we are serious in taking care of this ourselves. So if we say to Light and Water or shut off all of our street lights, And we know that over the course of the next 7 weeks, that will save whatever, $10,000, and over the course of the next fiscal year, that'll save $50,000, that then in their books, they will count and think, okay, there's $50,000 less in layoffs or less in other cuts that need to be made, so that eventually, because what their ultimate goal is to get us to fiscal solvency. So they want to see that our expenditures and our revenues match up. So any dollar that we can save on a street light is $1 that we have to spend on an employee salary. And that, again, I understand that money won't be represented for 2016, fiscal year's free cash, but the state, when they look at it, they will see, oh, here's what you have budgeted to spend into the future, and it matches up with what you have budgeted as expenses. Yes.
Can you give an update, or anybody, an update on the tax title taking we talked about? Is there any
Going
progress in
forward,
that?
going forward. That'll be free cash for next year.
It won't happen in this year, I thought we talked about?
Kate has finished up the tax title list, and actually I was in contact with the company on Monday. It's time. Come and talk to us about assigning tax titles and paying for it. Problem with that is that you can't use that. If that revenue comes in 2 weeks, you can't use it. It goes to the general fund and flushes out the free cash next year.
Okay, I was under the understanding if some of that money came, we could have used it in this budget.
We could have used it if the money was in the door prior to March 31st. But there was so much work to be done to repair the file and update the file for those who had made partial payments and those who had paid off. And so, I mean, the file was chaotic, right? And that couldn't be completed in time. In fact, Kate and I had a discussion at the beginning of April. When can you get this done? She says it's going to take another month. And now they have it done. So we are actually going to assign tax titles, and we're going to get, I think, some significant revenue in the door that will be the base of free cash next year. So it'll start the process of rebuilding. And I'm hearing a lot of unhappiness and complaints about problems that have existed in some cases for some years. I just want to underscore to the residents that I actually believe that it's going to get better. I think the financial management of the town is going to improve, is improving, and it's going to continue to improve. The budget process is going to be improved next year, and it's going to be a while, but I think there is a good chance that the town can get back to a more stable situation. And there are plenty of reasons to be negative, but as someone who witnesses and looks at it every day of things that are happening every day, without any vested interest, because I'm gone July 1. And I sure didn't come here to do this, let me tell you. It is as painful as anything to see people's lives affected like this. But this is what I'm saying, and I do believe there's reason to be assured that with a better financial team, with a stable board of selectmen that seems committed to making progress and making improvements, that it's going to get better for the town. I really believe that.
Yes.
I just want to make one comment. I mean, I read the paper and I read the blog, and and I think some people in the town think that us employees make really good salaries, they think. And just to throw it out there that we did a salary survey about 7 years ago. We hired a consultant, she came in, she did 13 different towns, Athol, Orange, Westminster, all the towns about the same size as us. And when she found out that we were the lowest paid people, that was 7 years ago, and she requested that we get a raise. I came up with some scenarios, we never implemented those. And we finally got like a cost of living increase a couple years later and stuff, but we haven't had raises for at least the ones that are non-union. We haven't had a raise in almost 4 years. We've held out, we keep thinking things are gonna get better. the school gets their raises, we take the cut for that $600,000 override the last fall and stuff. That wasn't for us, it was for the school, but people were in the impression that we were getting increases and stuff. We didn't. The highway didn't get theirs, even though they're contractual, they didn't get theirs, the police, it's just people think that we're big salaries, but unfortunately, the town of Templeton is probably one of the lowest paid for municipalities. And I just thought I'd throw it out there because that's what they kept saying, and like I said, I read these blogs and stuff, and people are thinking, oh, I'm not gonna give them any more money, those people don't do anything, and they're making all the kinds of money, and, but.
I think that most, I'm gonna interrupt, I think that most people know, the people I talk to, that you are all long-term dedicated employees, and that I can say that. I appreciate you, many people appreciate you, you do a job. You are low paid, that goes without saying. I think that I just had this conversation with someone else today who works that you don't work in municipal government for the pay, you work in it because you love it and you want to serve the public. So do you deserve more? Absolutely. Do you deserve what's happening here? No way.
And to echo what Phil had said earlier, that's exactly what's happened, that in order to not have people's taxes go up, because that was the priority, the budget was balanced using free cash,
And on your backs.
which came from the backs of the employees.
backs of
That
the
is
employees.
exactly what has happened. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, anytime a politician or anyone tells you that you can get more for less money, they are lying to you, because that is not how it works. So when people's taxes did not go up the 2.5% that the state allows, it's because employees were not getting raises. And that called it a shell game, and that process, whether intentionally or unintentionally, has gone on for so many years that we are now at this cacophony where you were told for years, oh, if you just take the 12.5% cut now, that it'll get better. It'll get better. I don't know how anyone thought it was going to get better, or where that money was going to come from, or where when we're using all of our free cash to balance the budget, we're not making any capital expenditures. So Bud has to spend $100,000 wherever he is, has to spend $100,000 a year for maintenance expenses, because we're spending so much more money because all of our equipment's falling apart because we didn't raise taxes. We didn't want to do what was unpopular. So now this is what's happening again, is that what the popular choice from the voters is now going to again be born on your backs.
On your
And
backs.
I fully agree that is 100%,
Right,
and I'm
like
not
Phil
arguing
said,
with that at all.
It's gonna end up being most of us,
Yeah.
in the process that we do not have a complete union, because again, the
Yeah.
board has dragged us out for negotiations that we started in the fall, because they kept saying, oh, wait till the next the next town meeting, we can't negotiate until, again, we know what the figures out, and so we're gonna take the brunt again, just like we did 2 years ago, because we don't have that signed paper in front of us.
Same thing happened with department heads. Oh, we're gonna give you a contract, we're gonna give you a contract, we're gonna give you a contract. Nothing. So now, we're out the door, and whoever's left, you're gonna balance the budget on their backs, because you're gonna expect them to do the same amount of work
Or less.
for less and less people. And so that's why I go back to, this is gonna be a 5-year crawl. And if there's anything out of this rubble and ash that the town learns, if you don't learn from this, shame on you. If you learn from this and actually move forward and get to what Bob is saying, solvency, fiscal management, planning, and leadership, okay, at least something good came out of it. But if you don't, shame.
David and I just came from the light company meeting, Water and Light. And for many years, like I tried to say last week, excuse me, I had a cold. For many years, the light company kicked in big money to subsidize the town. And they had continued giving money until just recently. As a matter of fact, I think it was in 04, 05, MWIC donated $150,000 to the town because we were in a jam. They're sitting on millions of dollars. But they are not going to help you, or me, or us, or any of us. And I think that's a downright shame. I think that things are more crucial here now than they've ever been in the history of the town. They have an account. All they need to do is make a phone call. But they have decided that they are not gonna help, that they'll do a project. 45,000, 65 years, 60 years ago, they gave us 35 years ago, they gave us $65,000. Today they're telling us, oh, we can give you 45? Something wrong with that picture. But I think that hopefully they'll change their mind. I think that maybe people should talk to them, see if they can kick in and give us a hand.
Did you have your hand up, Chief?
Yeah, not to state what sounds like a shot in the dark. Why don't we go for an override? Last year, we went for 4 no's and got 1 yes. The school got theirs. So why not we just go for another override here? Just keep going until we get a yes. That was a lesson from last year.
Right. The practical, well, I would say 2 things, right. Because that whole budget operates under a completely separate set of laws, right. But I understand, the practical answer to your question is that we don't have, the fiscal year will be over by the time the posting requirement comes, because it's 45 days to even, so even if today we voted to post for another override, it would be the end of the fiscal year before we would even know if it had passed, so,
Can I say that I asked for
what, sorry.
I sent a request to Bob today to ask if we could, I don't know if they can come on Monday, but to have the school committee come and put forth a suggestion of what they can cut from their budget, because all of the burden should not be on the town. So I don't know if that's a possibility. I just sent an email with all kinds of thoughts today. Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? Can we do that? Because we all can't talk to one another, so we just talk to the town administrator. So hopefully, if we ask, we shouldn't demand, we should ask. Same thing that we ask department heads, you know, can you come together? That's what we should all be doing. So can they come and can they bring forth something to cut their budget to help our town?
And I know that this, I can't remember if this has already come up, so apologize me if I'm saying it again, but the school, to assist us with our cash flow problem, has already agreed. We pay our assessment, like, $441,000 a month to the school. They have agreed to allow us to not pay that. I mean, we're still going to pay them, it'll just be in the next fiscal year to assist. That doesn't help with our budget problem, but that helps us $800,000 with our cash flow problem. So they have agreed to do that. I don't know if we know yet about any loans from enterprises that we had requested,
I
but
asked the fellow on the end, he's always on the school board up till like the other night.
oh, sorry, go.
Did they agree on any of that stuff?
I did have a
Just a
conversation
second.
with the sewer department, because they were certified as having the equivalent of free cash, retained earnings, of over $900,000. And the message was that they really don't have that much, and that they're not in a position to be helpful at this time.
Get some work.
Yeah.
I got if the school, what she just suggested, the school pinches pennies or whatever, does the money actually go back to the general fund, or if the school has money left over at the end of the year, does it go into the school's E&D
It goes into the schools.
little account?
Right.
So even if they pinch their pennies, it's not gonna go back to the town?
What it would reduce is our additional assessment
Right.
that we contribute to the school, because here's part of the problem, and you'll hear this, and this will be misinformation as well that you will get, because I know that I've already read it somewhere online, that, oh, the school increased Templeton's minimum contribution by more than 2.5%. That is a lie. It did not. The state did. Because as we've, and this has been addressed before, we give what the state minimum is, so we're not breaking the law, but the state has a target share that they would like us to contribute. We give less than that, so we are punished. I mean, basically that's what it is. We're punished by the state every year for giving less than that. So what they do every year is they increase our minimum contribution by law that we have to give. They increase that every year, and then they decrease Phillipston's, because Phillipston is giving more than what the state thinks that they should be giving. So that's what happened this year. So the overall school budget only went up, whatever, 1.59%. So the school kept its budget under the 2.5% levy limit. The state, however, is who increased by law what we have to give to the school. So we still do have money, obviously, that's an additional contribution that's above that minimum, and that's the amount that we would be looking at. Because we can't, the school can't agree by law for us to give them less than what the state says we have to give them. They don't, because that money doesn't belong to the school committee, it belongs to the kid, you know, to
Right,
the
but the
kids.
short answer to what she just proposed is basically it won't save us nothing, 'cause it's gonna go in the school's E&D fund.
This will not, well, no, if the school
No.
cut 50 grand from their budget, and then we cut our additional assessment that we pay to the school by 50 grand, that would be 50 grand in our budget. That, however, will not solve the problem that we face on Thursday, because
Right.
that will have no impact on
Won't
that.
impact this year at all.
Right, at all, but
I'm
in
saying
terms of
going
next
forward.
year's budget, right, exactly. So the budget that comes on annual town meeting floor next Saturday, which is for this upcoming fiscal year. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, if there's no more comments from Bob or the select board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second, okay. If there's no comments, again, we'll be in the 5:45 in the Kiva on Thursday. John?
Bob, can I go in?
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you for coming.